Hi, I'm Chuck Olenek. I'm a reenactor. That means I try to bring history to life and reenact it. And part of that involves wearing the clothing. I've got the music going in my classroom when I had a classroom, and would bring in, images of the art so that my students would get the time period, and just kind of immerse themselves rather than simply turning history into a list of, famous dead people. And now here I am with time on my hands, an entire room at the house full of garb. I always call it garb, not costumes, because I was trained to do that. And a passion for, bringing history to life. And I've also got a desire to preserve landmarks. So currently what I'm doing is, this is another visit to Mission Santa Inés on my very pretentious sounding Mission Odyssey, where I visit each of the missions, asistancias, estancias, presidios in Alta California, and I do it in garb and I document it. Because landmarks tend to go away, history goes away, and someone has to create a record, even though mine will be one of the more odd ones. So I'm headed back to Solvang, except that in my brain it's Mission Santa Inés, and I hope you're going to stick with me. Social life was a bit different at Mission Santa Inés. For one, it was off any major road, or any road period, and the ways to get here would be to come over what was back then called La Cuesta de Santa Inés, which now is called San Marcos Pass, or you could come up Gaviota Pass, or you could follow the Camino Real, which hung closer to the coast at that time. And when visitors approached, it was a big deal because visitors were uncommon. So usually what would happen is one of the Chumash neophytes would pass word to the mission, and a bell was rung whenever a visitor was seen approaching. And the bell rang one way if it was a padre, another way if Indians were approaching, because remember, the mission isn't really getting along with the Tulares, and it rang yet another way if, to be blunt, if the visitor was white. So things were a bit different, as far as this particular mission, and there was all the excitement, and that's why the bells, to draw people, to the front of the mission to greet the visitor. Father Tapis became the superior of the mission chain following the death of Father Laswin in 1803, and he had every reason to expect a prosperous future for the mission. However, Santa Inés did not measure up to the early indications of success. Even with 9,000 to 10,000 head of livestock, such a mission, hardly poor, did not fulfill the expectations of the fathers. Padre Uria harnessed both Alamo Pintado Creek and Zanja de Cota Creek, taking the water through an elaborate system of canals into two stone-lined reservoirs, which served the needs of the mission and neophyte village as well as a lavanderia. He also directed construction of a new grist mill. Even Mission Santa Inés has a connection to the pirate Hippolyte Bouchard. In November and December of 1818, when he was rampaging down the coast, the padres at all the missions were told, hide the valuable stuff, hide the religious artifacts, run to the hills, save yourselves. And what ended up happening is, after Bouchard ended up burning and sacking the Presidio at Monterey, which was really undermanned, although he told his crew to spare the chapel of the Presidio, he also told them to spare the Mission San Carlos. He's sailing down the coast and he stops at the Rancho Nuestra Senora del Refugio, and it's a wealthy rancho. Part of the reason it's wealthy is because the owners are involved in smuggling, so pretty much illicit trade. So he knows where to go for money. He goes there and he'll get several of his men captured, and there's one who deserts, and his name is Joseph John Chapman. He deserts, he runs away from the coast, he makes it here to Santa Inés and is taken prisoner. All right, air quotes. And in the meantime, Bouchard does his thing and he negotiates to get his guys back, and he promises not to attack anything in Alta California, and he lies. And he sails on to San Juan Capistrano. Okay, we don't care about him. But now, Joseph John Chapman, I talked about him in the third installment on Mission San Gabriel. He shows up here first. And when he showed up here, okay, remember, he's a prisoner. Well, he's got some skills, and some of them involve engineering, or at least maybe he's good at building things. And one of the things that he ends up doing is he builds a fulling mill. And this is designed to, when you soak the fabric and all sorts of stuff, it basically removes the lanolin and it creates a tighter weave. And so he built this, and he actually kind of upgraded from the design that was being used for the mill, which was a horizontal wheel, which wasn't really terribly efficient. They were using something similar for the grist mill down by Mission San Gabriel, which he's also going to end up replacing. So he comes up with using a vertical wheel, and it becomes more efficient. Okay, and then in 1824, he's given, along with other Anglo-Americans, he's given just a general amnesty. And what he's going to do is he's going to marry a very wealthy family, landowners, and then he'll move to the Pueblo of Los Angeles. But again, we can't get away from pirates. And I think that's the fulling mill that Joseph John Chapman built. I checked, can't get in there right now because of COVID, and you have to make an appointment. Oh, I'm not really liking this. So there's Mission Santa Inés and the trail to get down to here. I'm not going to envy going up that. And one of these is the grist mill, and one is the fulling mill. And I think I see a dam back there. So I'm going to go see if I can get in. Okay, after my hike, finally got down here. One of these two buildings was built around 1821, and that was the fulling mill, and that was the one that was built under the direction of the former pirate Joseph John Chapman. I have to do this. That's me touching history. Those appear to be two reservoirs. So that's probably the fulling mill. I'm judging that based on size and that it's farther up the slope here. And this sure looks like it's one of the reservoirs. Let's see what we got here. Watch me drop my phone. Okay. Now we have another reservoir. And that opening over there looks like it goes into the building. So I'm willing to bet some serious money that that's the grist mill that Padre Uria had built. Aha! I was right. This is the old grist mill. And that would have been the one that Padre Uria had directed to be built in 1820. Yay! History detective. I have to do it again. This is me touching history. This is me touching history. Interesting. It says that Chapman built the grist mill, but my research says Uria built it. Chapman's supposed to have built the fulling mill. Chapman built the grist mill to replace El Molino Viejo down in San Marino. The Chumash Revolt is going to begin here at Mission Santa Inés in February of 1824. And the straw that breaks the camel's back, or the match that gets tossed on the powder keg, is that a young neophyte boy came from La Purísima to visit a relative who was locked up in the guardhouse. And an argument developed between he and a leather coat named Valentin Cota. And I guess there's different versions of how this went, but one of the versions that people seem to pay attention to is when Mexico declared its independence and it created a new constitution for itself. It said that everybody living in Mexico had certain rights, and that included whether you were originally from Spain or you were of Spanish descent, or if you were indigenous, you had rights. And one version is the boy felt that he was being denied those rights, and Cota severely whipped the boy, and this lit the fuse. The Chumash would stand no more for it. Now, they had already been planning the revolt for some time, but now they launch it a day early. And over 500 Chumash were involved here at Santa Inés, and they set fire to, I believe, the guardhouse. They set fire to the soldados' quarters, and what ended up happening is the fire spread, and the Chumash kind of dropped what they were doing, and they helped put the fire out because they said their quarrel was not with the Padres, their quarrel was with the soldados. And in the meantime, what is going to take place is word's going to spread, people are going to travel to Mission La Purísima and also to Mission Santa Barbara. And now here's one of the worst dreams that the Spanish and now the Mexican authorities have is what happens if this revolt is successful? Because of the way the mountains slope towards the sea, by Santa Barbara, they could effectively cut off communication between northern Alta California and southern Alta California. The only means of communication would be by sea. Well, the revolt itself is only going to last a week here at Santa Inés. But because of that, Padre Uria, who was like the workhorse here, who was a driving force here, he's going to be escorted to the Presidio in Santa Barbara, and then he's going to later be reassigned. But the revolt is going to continue for several months. The Chumash that are at La Purísima, they're going to be able to hang on to the mission for a month. When everything kind of falls apart during this revolt, a number of the Chumash run away to join with the Tulares, and Padres end up working out kind of a deal. They wanted to work things out with the governor, who really severely wanted to punish some of the Chumash, and he did, some of the leaders. But they had to find a way to encourage the Chumash to come back to the missions. Following the revolt, restoration and reconstruction began almost immediately, and it lasted between 1825 and 1832. The artifacts that you see today in the church date from that time. A decade after the revolt, the Mexican government secularized the missions and intended to disperse the lands to the Indians and settlers. The goal was never fully accomplished. In 1836, Governor Mariano Chico Navarro, during his 3 months as governor of Alta California, granted the mission to Jose M. Covarrubias, who moved his family into one half of the mission building, the Padres retaining the half which had the church. The Father's Wall, which divided the property down the middle, was the result of a dispute between the residents of the two sections. The illustration of a Padre at Mission Santa Barbara gives an idea what that was probably like. In 1846, Pio Pico again proved he wasn't a friend of the missions. He ended up selling the lands of Mission Santa Inés to the same Jose M. Covarrubias, and also a man named Carrillo for the sum of $7,000. And when the Chumash retreated after secularization, a number of them were said to have gone up into the hills that I think happen to be right around here. On May 23rd, 1862, early in the Civil War, President Lincoln signed a decree which returned mission lands to the Catholic Church. And in turn, Mission Santa Inés was placed under the control of the Bishop of Monterey, since there were no Franciscans at the mission at this time. Okay, we have 6 asistencias out of the way, a couple of estancias. We have 2 presidios done. We have a few old mission dams and other waterworks done, and 8 missions accomplished. So now it's on to Mission La Purísima, and I hope you stick with me.